Pigs on the Wing. Now that was part one. Part two is very similar, and we'll talk about part two a little bit, but mostly wanted to talk about part one in this, and the strumming that Roger Waters did on this album. 1977, Animals, spectacular album, bookended with these two kind of goofy acoustic guitar songs. Just Roger strumming the guitar, some really simple chords in the key is G, most of them, and a few little additions. And again, it was the first song on the album and the last song on the album, just slightly different lyrics. There's part one and part two. But the really neat thing about this is there are a lot of rhythmic abnormalities, unusual numbers of beats in measures, and a whole little unusual strumming pattern. So we're going to take a look at the chords and a few little additions to the chords. We have some, what I'm going to call four chords in there. They're sometimes suspended fours, they're sometimes not really. And then we'll talk about how to count this song very carefully with having measures that don't always have the same number of beats in them. So let's take a look first at the left hand for what we're going to have to do for Pigs on the Wing. Then we'll talk about the strumming and kind of put it all together in this lesson. Mostly normal chords in the key of G, but with a slight unusual fingerings. And Roger Waters plays a lot of his G chords, maybe even all of them, with four fingers. His first finger on the second fret of the fifth string, second finger on the low G on the sixth string, and then both notes at the third fret of the first and second strings. Now this particular voicing of G gives you a slightly different sound than the standard one only because of the note on the second string. The note on the second string, if it's open, is B, and if you have it at the third fret, it's D. Those are two different parts of the chord. The B is the third and the D is the fifth. What we have here is a chord that just has more fifths in it than thirds. So the strumming in Pigs on the Wing is really interesting. You have to count very carefully because you never know, well, hopefully you can tell by looking at my chart, how many beats you're going to play of a chord. Now what happens is most of the time it's happening in a block of 8 beats, but accented not evenly. So Roger Waters is doing a group of 3, 2, another group of 3, and then a group of 2. So we could almost think of this as really just being in some kind of 4 time with accents in weird places. Or we can also break it down to a beat by beat analysis of, I gotta stay on this chord for 2 beats, then this chord for 3 beats, then this chord for 4 beats, or 5 beats, or whatever. So it really takes a lot of paying attention, and a little bit later on we'll have a slowed down metronome playthrough of this, trying to make sure that we have the right numbers of beats and everything in there. So if you have a chord for 3 beats, it's very simple. Down, down, up, down, up. So right there in the intro, our first G, and again in the tablature or in the chart that I have, the name of the chord represents 1 beat, and each slash would represent another beat.